Live. I don't usually go live. In fact, I haven't gone live in I couldn't tell you how long, but yeah, it really looks the same as it did a long time ago. So I'll quit rambling and yapping. Basically, this is a Q&A. Ask whatever. Assuming someone shows up, I can answer some questions you have. I understand. A lot of my viewers are probably at church right now. I went to church earlier today, and it was a really good service. So yeah, if anyone shows up, you ask me any questions, I'll do my best to answer. No, I did a test stream, but a few months ago. Then I did some gaming on my gaming channel. Didn't really work out. I kind of privated all those videos or streams, whatever. I don't really like streaming, to be honest. I just don't like it. I prefer shorts and posts, even though I can't post right now because of a stupid glitch. My channel's been doing pretty well as of late. I mean, for its standards. So I figured, why not, you know. And obviously, look, I know my channel ain't gonna get monetized. No way in freaking hell. But because, well, it should be evident why. Because I speak my mind. And, frankly, I don't really want to make money off of this. I mean, you know. Because there's actively, I believe there's 1 or 2 strikes on my channel. Now, I have multiple accounts, so it's not like it means anything to me. Well, it kind of does, considering I've put a lot of work and energy into this channel, given my resources. And look, I know YouTube's all about censorship. They're all about that crap. If you don't have left-wing ideology, YouTube immediately villainizes you. Well, not just YouTube, but the media in general are so quick to villainize anyone who doesn't think the way they do. And the scary part is, the schools, at least in my country, now, for those who don't know, my passport says American, my blood says Confederate. I'll always be a Confederate, and no Yankee on the planet will ever convince me otherwise. You call me a Johnny Rebel, I call you a Blue Belly. So it goes. But yeah, I don't expect to ever get monetized for obvious reasons, because I'm not a left-winger. I don't have that mental cancer, if you know what I mean. Man, this weather is making me a little allergic to everything. I've had really, really bad post-nasal drip. playing some video games right now, but I've had some really, really, really bad postnasal drip. The kind where it's basic allergies at first, but as it progresses, it reminds you that it isn't just casual allergies. Oh, come on. There we go. Spamming the A buttons because, again, I'm playing a game right now. Like I said, I doubt anyone's going to show up. I mean, people who watch my channel probably at church right now. Come on. Excuse me. And yeah, I also get a live stream with a generic thumbnail titled Q&A is probably not going to be rather enticing to people scrolling, but hey, welcome. Welcome, my brother. El Cadillo Uno. Doing all right, amigo. Just, I don't really have much going on right now. So I figured, I'd kill some time, live stream, But yeah, I'm doing well. How about you, man? Likewise. Yeah, you have some sick edits, like, genuinely. Way better than anything I could do. And no, that's not me glazing. I'm, like, being for real. And I was reading about the Spanish government and how basically Sanchez is... Obviously, we both know he's a globalist sellout. Philippe, he's a joke. It was them rejecting Franco was the worst thing that could have happened. And there's a reason he was so villainized. It was because he was against the globalist movement that was World War II. It's called a world war, but it was globalism versus Christianity. It was essentially what I like to call a modern crusade. But yeah, I couldn't do edits like that. Absolutely. My videos are just literally me rambling into a microphone, speaking my mind. So really no talent needed. But then again, I don't really have legitimate software to make good content. So I just... humble beginnings, if you will. Excuse me. Yeah, I know this stream is kind of awkward. I mean, frankly, I don't know really what to do. I mean, I'm not going to be showing my face on here for obvious reasons. I mean, but I don't really know how to set this thing up, really. Because this isn't my gaming channel, and I like to be selective on what I do on which account. But, you know how it goes, I guess. Oh, I know. Believe me. A long time ago, when I used to stream, when I was about 12 or 13, believe me, I was a dumb kid. I'm still dumb, make no mistake on that. I showed my face, and believe me, it screwed me over. Absolutely. And then, of course, I ended up getting banned temporarily. Now, I was able to get the ban lifted, which is why I wasn't doing anything for like 6 to 7 years. But, I mean, I'll do some reactions to me wearing my Crusader helmet. And that helmet ain't no prop either. That's real, genuine metal. Real metal. I don't buy cheap Chinese crap. I buy the real stuff. Hell yeah, based. I like to give as little money to China as possible. Which is why, like, I know that may seem extreme. Do I have Discord? I'm actually banned from Discord. I was on Discord, then a coalition of fat 30-year-olds living in their parents' basement with blue hair dye and Cheeto dust in their keyboards formed a little coalition to ban me because I said that I made some comments about homosexuality and transgenderism that pissed them off, so they got me banned. Full-on shadow banned, so you know how that goes. And Discord is pretty much left-wing propaganda anyway. Yeah, China is shit. You know, I have a friend that's Tibetan, and I support the Tibetan free movement, as well as Macau, Hong Kong, and what was that other place? The Uyghurs. Look, I've spoken my opinion on Muslims, but I want the Uyghurs to be free. And it's hilarious when you got countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, that are rambling about the Muslim Brotherhood, yet China's giving them all this money and resources, and it's like the Muslim Brotherhood goes away. It's like money talks louder, and they leave the Uyghurs to be just treated like less than used livestock. It's kind of ironic, and it shows the hypocrisy of Islam. It's Muslim Brotherhood until the Chinese throw money at them. Which is why I think Eastern Europe needs to form a Slavic or Christian brotherhood as a way to counter Muslim meddling, Muslim interference. There needs to be a counter. It's kind of like they love to call me a fascist and all that stuff because I have a lot of friends in Eastern Europe. Eastern Europeans are based. It's the last majority bastion of Christianity. And I pray it stays like that. Excuse me. And back to that homosexuality deal. I've debated plenty of them, and the one thing awesome, yeah, me as well. I support mostly support USA, Eastern Europe, and obviously Western Europe because as someone of Western European heritage, I mean, my family came here from Northern England a long time ago, 1730s. I support Europe absolutely. In fact, if the USA goes to crap, I plan to move to Europe. But back to what I was saying about homosexuality. The one thing I use that makes them all, upset and triggered, I keep saying, if homosexuality is natural, why is there yet to be a documented case of two men and two women procreating? Because it's not natural. And that's the one thing that gets them, all stumped. Because they have no argument there. They know I'm right. Exactly, degeneracy. It's not just degeneracy, it's rejection of God's blueprint. And anything that rejects God is unholy, is unclean. God made Adam and Eve. He didn't make Madam and Eve. He didn't make Adam and Steve. He made Adam and Eve. It's the one thing that these retarded people just don't understand, and I don't get it because it's simple. It's the most simple of understandings. But I absolutely plan to travel to Europe. Mostly Eastern Europe, like Bulgaria, Romania, Russia, Belarus, even Ukraine. There's still some sane areas in Ukraine. Ukraine has mostly completely sold itself to the EU, which is disgraceful. And frankly, it's treason to the Eastern Christian Brotherhood. At least Serbia is still based. Alexander Vucic supports Serbia and its claim of Kosovo, which Kosovo is Serbia. I don't know why that's so offensive to everybody. Kosovo has no history before 2008. Absolutely. Communism, Freemasons, Islam, absolutely. They villainize us, white Christians, because we see clean through this New World Order. We see clean through Soros's plan. That's why he's trying to eliminate us. Now, I'm sure because I'm talking about this, YouTube's going to have that little pop-up. Well, that little Wikipedia pop-up. Well, to all who see that pop-up, just know Wikipedia is far-left, Marxist propaganda. Just disregard that little link. Wikipedia was hijacked by a bunch of crazies. The good thing about liberals is they ain't reproducing because they think that it's their obligation to be with people of their own gender, which is weird. And because liberals ain't reproducing, that's why they're pushing their beliefs on the kids of the current generation. They know that no woman's going to want them. No woman wants a cuck liberal. No woman wants a pushover. That's just nature. And it's what I described in the previous short. Islam has no place in the West. frankly, it has no place anywhere. As someone who has a lot of Coptic friends that live in Egypt and Libya, now for wondering, I interact with a lot of these people on Telegram because a lot of these people can't have access to media like we have. Absolutely. Feminism has radicalized women, has made women dress like prostitutes, has made women have this idea of villainizing us men. Feminism is cancerous. And as someone who has debated a feminist, none of their debates, at least with liberals, some of their debates actually kind of make sense. But with feminists, it's all just ideological, personal opinions. And when you're debating, you have to limit opinions. You have to go for the facts. And that's what feminists, because feminism isn't based on facts, it can't be reasonable within debates. Man, my allergies are something else. And I was debating this Muslim about a week ago. He was trying to say how Islam is about peace. How can something that was founded by a pedophile, a murderer, a rapist, a terrorist be anything peaceful? Then they like to say, well, that's not all of us. Nonsense. And the scary thing is, Islam is legitimately spreading. I mean, in my town, I see more women wearing hijabs than I see hair. Now, yeah, a lot of these women obviously didn't really have a choice. I somewhat feel bad for them. But then again, they're in the United States. They have a choice. It's like what we're seeing in Dearborn, Michigan. Chicago. And I make a vow to the entire world. If Islam completely takes over my town, I'm going to live stream myself protesting in front of the city hall. I am not a coward. I am not one. Yeah, Dearborn, Michigan has completely been occupied by Islam. But back to what I was saying, I am not a coward. I don't care if I'm the only one standing there. I refuse to let Islam take over a town in which my family has inhabited for centuries. I refuse to allow that to happen. I wasn't raised to bend to stuff that I don't believe in, to stuff that I'm against. And I'm also not the kind of guy who say I'll do something and won't. No. I stick to my word. But yeah, feminism is definitely about privilege. It's the Jezebel effect. More and more women would rather live a Jezebel-esque lifestyle than to adhere to the way God wanted them to be. Exactly. What I don't understand is they love to scream and yell about, oh, that's bigoted, oh, you're racist, oh, you're a fascist, all that crap. Isn't Islam bigoted? Isn't Islam racist? I mean, but then again, I guess they both have the same goal, to destroy a Christian civilization. And yeah, I've been called a Christian nationalist because I am a Christian nationalist. I want to know why it's okay for there to be countless Muslim majority nations, countless Jewish nations. Why is it so problematic for Christianity to be in a government. Because Christianity stands for everything that evil doesn't. I'm proudly Christian nationalist. Proudly. And if any liberals are watching, cry me a river. The world needs more water. Exactly. Liberals are just... You know, I went to public schools. Now, fortunately, I actually have a brain, and I saw clean through the propaganda they were trying to push on me. That's why I made bad grades in school, because everything they were teaching me was wrong. And, I mean, in schools don't teach you stuff that you do when you're in a grown-up, like taxes, basic bills, I mean, and all that stuff. They assume that every kid is going to be a freaking marine biologist or study biology. It's, you know. I don't know how schools are in Spain, El Cadillo one, but here in the United States, they're an absolute joke. I mean, public schools in the United States, it's just a bunch of retards. Ah, dang. That's a shame. You know, I'm a history guy. I love studying history. Spanish history is based, absolutely based. Like Hernan Cortez, you want to talk about the embodiment of an absolute badass, an absolute just, a guy who sticks to his beliefs. That is Hernan Cortez. Absolutely. He's one of my favorite characters in history. I mean, he brought Christian beliefs to Mexico. He saved countless Latin Americans. That man earned his place in heaven. Like, those conquistadors get me fired up. Believe me, if Spain will implement that again, I might move to Spain. The Blue Division? Is that a Spanish thing? I don't really follow... Look, outside of basic European politics, I don't really follow much. But, yeah, I'm not really familiar with the Blue Division. I presume, considering the Democrats are blue here, I don't really know. But, yeah, could you elaborate on that? Oh, yeah. Spanish volunteers. They were, I believe, on the Axis side. They were definitely heroes. And look, I'm American, but I'm not exactly proud of my country's history. Like, I'm cool with the Revolutionary War. which was more about slavery than the Civil War. The Civil War was a bunch of Southern, of course, my family fought for the South, was a bunch of patriots fighting Yankee invaders that were trying. Basically, these Yankees were coming here, forcing Southerners to sell their farmland, to sell everything. The Civil War had nothing to do, very little to do with slavery. Most Yankees owned slaves. William T. Sherman, a terrorist, evil man, owned slaves. But yeah, back to the Blue Division. Yeah, those guys were badasses. And look, I know, like I said, I'm American, and it makes you really wonder why Americans immediately sided with the communists, because it wasn't. They want you to think it was a world war, when really it was a cultural war. Look who was president of the United States. Woodrow, was it Wilson? I think it might have been. Well, Woodrow Wilson was a full-on communist. Why do you think individuals like him so quickly sided with that asshole Stalin? World War II is a cultural battle. Oh, absolutely it is. Absolutely. George Washington, and those guys, Thaddeus Stevens, Nathaniel Greene, Daniel Morgan. Now, of course, for those who don't know, my ancestry is Northern England, Germany, and parts of Eastern Europe. And yes, I'm aware. The UK is in just... The Labour Party is responsible for destroying England. It's utterly disgraceful. Your great-grandfather? Well, I salute him, my brother. Shout out to your great-grandfather. And it's hilarious how the left-wing media loves to portray Franco as this totalitarian dictator. He improved life for Spaniards in Spain. Like, Spain was a really good country. Christians could worship whenever they wanted. He wasn't a full-on dictator like they love to push. He actually cared about the people of Spain. Spanish women felt safe. Spanish men could work wherever they wanted, whenever they wanted. I mean, and then the leftists come in and just ruin everything. Exactly. Isolation. Look, I know the left-wing media loves to say that isolation is bad. When you consider what countries who don't isolate involve themselves in, isolation is a very good thing, because it's protecting your people from outside influence that is harmful. Very harmful. Look, when England fell to liberalism, it was essentially a domino effect. France, then Germany, then Holland, then Belgium. It's incredibly dangerous. Now, look, I still believe there's hope for Western Europe. It's just time to act now. Well, the time to act was about a decade and a half ago. There's still a chance to improve. They're just going to need politicians with actual balls, our actual manhood. Yeah, we were. We were allies. Absolutely. And what pissed me off was in the Tour de Spain, which I assume you've heard of. It's a cycling event. The police were so weak that they had to cancel 2 stages in this cycling tour because a bunch of fatherless blue hairs were protesting for Palestine. That really pissed me off. And naturally, because left-wingers were protesting, it got violent because they've been taught that... Because when liberals are kids, they're never told no by their parents. So when they get told no when they're grown-ups, what do you think's going to happen? Look, I'm not a parent. I want to be a parent, but I'm not one right now. But I ain't going to be one of those parents that never tells a kid. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you know what's ironic about that is those illegal migrants that are coming in, more than half of them are armed. I mean, what do you think happens when you allow a bunch of people that don't even know what civilization is, that live in little shit? You think just magically putting them in Europe is going to change them? No. And they're not going to assimilate. They're going to force Europeans to assimilate. Now, I'm praying Europeans remain strong so that hopefully... Look, I love Europe. As someone of European ancestry, as someone who wants to see a successful based Europe. But probably my favorite European politician is Viktor Orban. Viktor Orban is a badass. Absolutely. He is absolutely fixed hungry. I might. I'd have to make a new account, which again shouldn't be that hard. But yeah, I'll consider. I do want to create a Discord server though, because I'm starting to gain a little community, which is cool. But yeah, I'll definitely consider, brother. I probably won't be very active because I got a life, but I'll definitely... The thing with Putin is he's very, very difficult to understand. Part of him is based. The other part of him is a communist nostalgist. That's why I'm not really a Putin supporter. Because he worked for communism, you know. Alexander Vucic. I'm a fan of him, but I worry about Serbia getting too much EU influence because there's a lot of liberals, especially in Belgrade and other major Serbian cities. It's alarming. Bulgaria. Rumen Radev. Rumen Radev, I mean, he's somewhat based, but I mean, like Serbia. I worry Bulgaria is getting too much UN and EU influence. Sofia, Plovdiv, they're getting the majority of liberals. It's alarming, you know. But, I mean, if the USA goes to hell, I mean, I have some countries, probably, I don't know where I'd move to. I mean, maybe the Philippines, Eastern Europe, I don't know. I absolutely do plan to go to MGTOW if the United States goes to shit. Yeah, Mussolini. The the history revisionists love to portray him as just this evil, backwards guy. Mussolini brought order to Italy. My issue with the UN is that they're so in love with George Soros and his mafia. That's my issue with the UN. It was like the League of Nations. The League of Nations problem was it just didn't have the leverage with the right people, which is why it ended up collapsing and unifying with select other groups for the United Nations. The United Nations has had the wrong influence. That's the issue. Mandela, who, by the way, Nelson Mandela fractured Africa. But yeah, if the UN had the right influence, I wouldn't be so against it. They let that German witch, Baerbock. Baerbock is a reason. My issue with Hitler was that he was pagan. Like, let's not act like some of his policies were that bad. I mean, some of his policies were good. It's just, he just, you know, if Mussolini had a more independent mindset, Italy would have been absolutely based. And I think we would have seen a new Roman Empire 100%. 100%. They just used Mussolini as a scapegoat all because he was on Hitler's side. That's the thing. Absolutely. Nelson Mandela was a piece of shit. He's the reason why all these whites in South Africa are being targeted. Because he propagated everything. He made Africans have this mindset that the white man is the bad guy. If it weren't for us whites, they'd still be running around with sticks and arrows in Africa. Colonialism built Africa to its heights. You look at South Africa. You look at Nigeria, Tanzania, Namibia, Rwanda, all these nations, even North Africa. Africa was a beautiful continent under European leadership. When the very second they rejected that was the very decline of Africa. You know what's funny? Not too long ago in my comment section, there was this 13, 14, 15-year-old kid had a rainbow-colored hammer and sickle in his profile picture. And this dumb kid was trying to convince me how amazing communism is. You can't make this stuff up. Now, of course, this kid was probably just in his emo phase, but, you know, these kids don't understand true communism. They don't understand what they're saying because they haven't lived under it. I have eternal sympathy to those who unwillingly lived under communism, which is basically ended up being everybody in the country. Now, to the people who voted in knowing it's evil, I have no sympathy with them whatsoever. One of my best friends is a Russian dude. His family suffered under communism in Russia. I believe they lived in Chelyabinsk, basically so southern Russia, which is where a lot of gulags were. Segregation, look, I know this is probably going to piss off a lot of people. Segregation might be what we need. When you look at the conflict of cultures, it's no surprise why segregation was so common. Some cultures simply cannot intersect without issues. It's just a basic fact. It's not offensive to say, I don't want Muslims in my neighborhood. It's not offensive. It's not offensive to say, I don't want a bunch of gay couples in my neighborhood that are too close to the children of the neighborhood. None of that's offensive. Now, another thing. Now, I know this is probably a dangerous thing to talk about, but I want to know why, whenever politicians say America first, whenever Trump says America first, all those other politicians get all nervous and offended. And I also want to know why Israeli lobbyists are not considered foreign via AIPAC, and is AIPAC a leash that's put on the United States government by the Israeli elites? That's just what I want to know. Just simple questions. But yeah, I'm going to end the stream. I got to get out of here, y'all. I mean, I can stay here 5 more minutes. But yeah, if y'all have any more questions, put them in now, because I want to get out of here. I've been streaming for almost an hour. All right, y'all. I gotta go. I hope y'all enjoyed. I will see you then. Goodbye.